The Magic of Thinking Big by David J. Schwartz helps you scale your thinking and genuinely believe in bigger success. I'm Mike from Sell Your Service, and this is a book review. So, The Magic of Thinking Big is something that I read relatively recently. Apparently, it's quite an old book. I'm not sure when it was initially published, but you can actually find it, I think, online, kind of like as a PDF. It's sort of in the vein of books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill and like The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. At its core, it is designed to help you increase the scale of your thinking and genuinely believing in bigger success. Some of the examples they give are really interesting, to do with, you know, everyone from salespeople to doctors, people in marriages, and a lot of it is determined by what you condition your thinking to be around. The book is essentially designed for people who are looking to improve their lives, you know, their businesses and their careers. It is a self-help book after all, but it's also designed for people who want to start thinking big. One of my big problems that I think I had and do have to some extent is my ability to kind of scale my thinking outside of what I believe is already possible. For example, if our business is already doing, you know, $250,000 a year, my thinking kind of goes, oh, well, it's probably going to be harder for us to get to $1 million. Why is that? Why $1 million? Why $10 million? So wanting to think big and wanting to scale up your thinking, which is quite a scary concept because it challenges a lot of what we already know about how we define our world around us and a lot of our values and principles. It's also a book that people should read if they want bigger results, if they want to start getting bigger results and better results in their life and in their business, and they often wonder why other people have things that they want. One of the recurring themes is that a lot of people who have things that you want, it's not necessarily because they are wealthier than you, it's not necessarily because they're more intelligent or a harder worker. It's ultimately their mindset towards thinking bigger than the world that they're currently in. One of the core principles is around you should be dressing for the job that you want, not the job that you have, right? So by acting and thinking and believing and being the person that you want to be, that is ultimately what is reflected back on you. Try to be, not seem, which was quite interesting. It is a self-help book and it's designed with a kind of program delivery. It goes through a lot of the stages. It introduces the concepts of thinking big, some of the habits around thinking big, and then gives tons and tons of examples and case studies. There are also quite a few exercises to do inside the book, which talk about, you know, writing out questions and answers and all these kinds of things. So it's a really interesting take on the regular kind of self-help book, because it does have a lot for you to do as well. I read it and listened to an audiobook version as well, and I found myself having to stop to do some of the exercises before carrying on. And there are a few chapters and things that I reread and re-listened to because I wanted the ideas to think into it. It's similar to, like I mentioned, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's an older model book, but it's also about fundamentally changing some of your core guiding principles and beliefs and mindset around a lot of topics like money, happiness, friendship, wealth, that kind of stuff. It's also, I think, similar to The 7 Habits of Successful People or Highly Successful People, which I've only just started reading. Again, it's about creating the repetitive internal motions in order to be able to project that onto the outside world. So what are some of the things that I liked? I really liked that there were lots of examples and repetition throughout the entire book. There is case study and anecdotes, one after the other, over and over and over. It's not often that the book goes into like specifics. It typically doesn't give like company names and details. Sometimes it does. It sometimes gives real people's names, which is interesting, but it doesn't give like case studies in the way of, you know, a real business name or anything. But it does, those stories help you identify with what it is that you see within your business, like, oh, I don't make enough sales, or, oh, I never seem to get that promotion. And a lot of it is also based around giving whatever you want to receive, you know. Now, this is nothing that you haven't heard before or already from Think and Grow Rich, from 7 Habits of Successful People, from other self-help books, from sales books, from marketing books. You know, a lot of the concepts of being something rather than seeming something. giving what it is that you want to receive. I know that Robert Kiyosaki is a massive fan of that. But it just reinforces it and showed it in a different light. And there was something, because it was an older book, it gave an air of legitimacy, which I quite liked. I found that quite interesting. A lot of this stuff people have been thinking about for, decades, if not hundreds of years. A lot of different subjects are covered within the book. Business, money, work, employment, management, relationships, love, all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people find that they are unhappy with a given situation in some of those areas and sectors. And what's interesting is that the book challenges you not to think, oh, this environment is wrong, what can I change in the environment? It's typically, there's something within me that I can make better about this environment and reflect that outwards. That was kind of the key message that I picked up, which I thought was fascinating. Is if you're struggling with understanding money or having money or wanting more money, then what is it not about your environment, but what is it that you are doing to alter that? Something I really liked was that the book constantly reinforced the idea that it's got nothing to do with your intellect, it's got nothing to do with money, it's got nothing to do with your looks or anything like that. There was a lot to do with like salespeople saying, if you've got 10 salespeople in a room and one of them just smashes it all the time, why is that? It's not necessarily because he's better looking or knows the product better or anything like that. It's because that particular salesperson thought bigger than the other people in the room. At its core, it challenges, and this is something I think I really liked, is it challenges your perception of your environment and your thinking. It challenges what it is you take for granted within your environment and what you perceive to be truth or true, and flip that and just examine, okay, am I thinking big enough about this? Am I thinking in a world where I am this one thing here, this one state, or am I thinking bigger about what I could be in the next, 3 or 4 or 5 evolutions time, Couple of things that it's not that I didn't like. I think some of the examples in the language are of their time. The book is a few years old now, but that's, in a way, it's kind of charming. There was nothing in the book that was like offensive. There wasn't anything that I absolutely hated inside it. A few of the repetitions I got the point, and I could have kind of skipped over them. But overall, it's fine. There's nothing in there that's offensive or you can't comprehend. A lot of the principles are actually, if anything, more true than perhaps they were back then, particularly with things like social media and paid advertising, where we're in this hyper reality that everyone seems to have these incredible lives, and that we should want those lives as well. It kind of challenges you to think, okay, well, is it that I should be following these people in these examples, or should it be I should be reflecting internally about what to do about that? Biggest takeaway is, without a doubt, you are what you think you are. If you think you are bad at sales, you are bad at sales. If you think you are afraid of heights, you are afraid of heights. It's about challenging yourself to change the perception of what it is that you think to be true within yourself. One of my favorite exercises was by a guy called Tom, I can't remember his surname, where he writes an advert for himself. And he basically writes out the commercial, or he sells himself to himself. He introduces himself and talks about himself. I really connected with that, and it's something that we took on board. I read and write and listen to that every single day now. So that was a really, really important point to me to kind of sum up the whole process. It is available on Amazon, on Kindle. I'm sure I'll put the link below or something. I think you can get a PDF as well of it. Paperback, I think, is like 50p or 50 cents or something like that. It's an old book. It's been around a long time. At its core, The Magic of Thinking Big by David J. Schwartz is about helping yourself think bigger and genuinely believe in bigger success. That was one of the core principles, is do you truly believe this? Let me know if you've read The Magic of Thinking Big in the comments below, or if there's any other books that I should check out and review. I am Mike from Sales Service, and I'll see you soon.